Hi, I am Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, and I'm joined by the Paredes family, as well as Civil Rights Attorney Norman Siegel and Ken Ramseur. And I'm going to ask Norman Siegel to open for us to really explain what we are attempting to accomplish here today. Norman?
Thank you, Eric. Good morning. To the press, thank you for coming here on Sunday morning. Kenneth Ramseur and I are here today at the request of the Borough President to bring attention and focus on the serious and substantial questions of what happened to their father, their husband, Over Paredes, last Wednesday, November 21, 2018. Mr. Paredes is dead. We cannot bring back this 44-year-old father and husband. What we can do, though, is to assist and call for a comprehensive and full, fair investigation. And hopefully, through this investigation, bring justice and accountability to this family and try to realistically ameliorate horrific, illegal, negligent accidents and deaths at construction sites, not just in Brooklyn, but throughout New York City, to try to prevent it from happening to other individuals and families in both Brooklyn and New York City. This matter will also raise the serious question of how building construction is happening in not only Brooklyn, but throughout the city of New York, focusing in on the owners of buildings, LLCs, limited liability corporations, contractors, subcontractors, and whether New York City is adequately and properly monitoring and supervising these construction sites. Kenneth and I finally want to applaud Eric Adams, the Brooklyn Borough President, for his leadership in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Norman and Ken. When I was notified of what happened at the site, I immediately reached out to them to provide some preliminary oversight and assist the family and answer some of the basic questions on how to address the issues what happened to their father and husband. What is extremely troubling here is that not only was Mr. Paredes employed at the site, but his two sons were employed. Both of them are here today. They witnessed this incident of the wall falling on their dad and the previous calls to deal with safety concerns for employees at this same site. We believe that it is imperative that a thorough investigation is taking place to ensure that there were no wrongdoings on part of the developers and particularly the subcontractors. A father and husband was lost in the incident, and we want to make sure and determine that if it was unavoidable at all. This was a 44-year-old male with four children, father of four, including a 14-year-old son and 7-year-old daughter. And as of Saturday, the daughter, youngest child, was not even aware. The mother was trying to find the proper way to explain to her that her dad was no longer here. This family is hit with an extremely expensive next few days. We set up a GoFundMe page to assist them, and we would give that GoFundMe information out for those who would like to contribute to assist this family in a terrible time. It was also reported to us that the victim's brother-in-law had reportedly been fired by the crew chief of the site the week before because he complained about safety violations at the site. On the day of the incident, The crane operators had reportedly been refused to use their crane because of high winds, and we want to make sure that this wasn't a way of circumventing a decision by the crane operators not to use the crane on that day. So my office has been in communication with the Department of Buildings of this incident, and we're again calling for a comprehensive and thorough investigation and to determine if anything was done improperly or incorrectly that caused this young man to lose his life. I think that oftentimes after these incidents, we sort of dehumanize the aspect of it when it is a very human encounter. And it's important that you hear directly from Pierre, who was the son who was at the site when the incident took place. We continue to have conversation about construction safety. We must be more comprehensive and thorough that no matter what the site, if it's a union or non-union site, everyone must adhere to very strict rules, particularly when you're dealing with windy days, as we saw in the day of this incident. And so at this time, I want to turn it over and allow the son of Mr. Paredes to speak and explain what he observed that day and what he went through on that construction site. Pierre?
Voy a traducir para el hijo, Pierre Paredes. ¿Qué pasó ese día de tu papá?
Mi papá murió por negligencia y la incapacidad de una compañía.
My father passed away. He was killed because of the negligence of a company.
Esto se pudo haber evitado, esto no tuvo que haber pasado.
This could have been avoided. It didn't have to happen.
Nosotros no teníamos que haber trabajado el día, pero nosotros tenemos biles que pagar.
We didn't have to work that day. We were told not to work because of high winds, but we know that we have commitments, bills, and invoices and stuff to pay.
Y si te rehusas a no trabajar el día porque sientes que hay algún riesgo, simplemente te botan para la casa.
So if you're questioned if you can't work that day, the management will simply tell you to go home and you don't have to work any longer. They'll dismiss you from your job.
Es lo que pasó ese día.
That's exactly what happened that day.
Teníamos 2 grúas grandes que contrató Bescom.
We had 2 large teams and cranes that Bescom had contracted.
Son máquinas capaces para levantar mucho peso y si ellos no quisieron trabajar, ¿por qué nosotros hacerlo con un montacarga mucho menor?
The crane operators were instructed not to work, and the management went against what the crane operators wanted to do.
Había muchas cosas malas ese día.
So much bad things were happening that day.
El cemento en el que trabajábamos estaba muy fresco.
The cement that was poured the night before was still fresh. It was not hardened yet.
Estoy seguro que por eso también la máquina resbaló.
We understand that because of that, the crane operation and the forklift didn't operate correctly.
Y más el viento, todas las condiciones, fue por todo eso que
Plus the high winds of that day, it just added to this negligence.
y fue por, pienso que esas razones que mi papá, yo lo vi debajo de una pared.
And I truly believe that that's the reason why I seen that my father under that wall that collapsed on him.
No se imaginan el dolor que causa sacar un padre debajo de una pared.
You guys don't understand the pain that I go through of taking my father from under the wall that collapsed on him.
Agonizando. Yo lo vi.
I lived this.
Yo lo vi, él agonizaba y tratamos de hacer algo todos, pero eso es muy pesado.
I saw how he screamed and he wanted to come out of that agony, but it was just too hard for us to help him.
Y solo ahí las grúas quisieron ayudar y levantaron la pared.
Only then is when the crane operators came to help to lift up the wall.
Y yo lo saqué
And I was able to pull him out.
y lo vi.
And I saw him.
Yo quiero justicia por mi papá.
I want justice for my father.
Esta compañía tiene que pagar por lo que hizo.
This company has to pay for what they did.
Y todos los que están detrás de esto.
And everyone that's behind this company.
Porque sé que fue un accidente, pero
We know it was an accident,
esto pudo haberse evitado.
but we could have avoided it.
Y mi papá estaría vivo.
And my father would have been alive today. Muy bien, bien dicho. Muy bien dicho.
Gracias.
Okay. No quieren decir otra cosa. ¿Está bien? Okay. Thank you, everyone.
I think it was very important, and I think Pierre, because oftentimes we dehumanize the situation for Pierre and his brother to be at the site and watch this wall fall on their dad, and his attempts to remove his dad from under the wall is something that is impactful to this family. And when we hear of these construction site incidents, we tend to believe that is just another hazard on the job, is just another part of the dangers of the job. But no, this father is lost, this family is traumatized, his wife has 4 children that she has to explain to, and 2 of them are extremely young. And so it's imperative that we have a very thorough and comprehensive investigation, as Attorney Siegel stated, to find out what went wrong here and how do we alleviate, if not eradicate, these types of horrific incidents that takes place on the construction sites. Anything, Ken?
There's no secret that construction can be a dangerous and very tough business. But I think it's incumbent upon people of goodwill, as the Borough President has spoken about, the families of construction workers should be able to know that their loved ones, their family members who do construction, will come home that night. So I think New York City and Brooklyn being dynamic places, we should provide national leadership about the proper way and the safest way to perform construction. So I embrace the thoughts of the family, the Borough President, and Norman, that New Yorkers should rally to do everything we can to make the construction industry safe for all. Thank you.
Thank you. The GoFundMe page is extremely, at this time, to assist the family in the burial and all of the expenses that is associated with it. So the GoFundMe information will be on our social media page, and our communication director will let you know also before you depart. We'll open to any questions at this time. The only one that's fielding questions on behalf of the family is the son Pierre or any one of the councils. I'm sorry? It's common spelling P-I-E?
P-I-E-A-R-R-E. Yes, it's P-I-E-R-R-E. Paredes, last name Paredes, P-A-R-E-D-E-S.
How old is he?
Okay, that beginning. 20 years old.
How old is the other one?
Your brothers.
19, 14, y 7, and 7.
So 20, 19, 14, and 7. The
Seven.
youngest is his sister of his 7-year-old. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Gracias. Okay, let me go up there and then find out. Okay, vamos allá afuera, entonces yo voy a hablar con Guillermo porque yo quiero hacer preguntas a una sola persona.